The unanswered question of your what we were talking about is that I was asking about like what could have like helped your hard-headed self like to not overtrain or run through injuries, etc.
Is it for me or Katie? I lost track.
Katie answered, so it's your turn.
It is my turn.
It is your turn.
Okay. Man, I don't know. I think going back to like if a confident, strong woman that I could relate to could give me the tea, it would help better. Because like I wasn't telling anybody anything. Because I felt like anytime I try to talk about my mental health, like, and I still get this, I still struggle with this of like, if I tell you my real feelings, people will be like, be positive. And I'm like, oh. Like they might not say that directly, but that's what we're going to circle back around to. And then I'm like, okay, so then I can't tell you things because it's just going to exhaust me. And so I just stopped telling people how I felt because the wrong people told me the wrong things. So I think what I really would have needed is someone to be like, hey, how you're feeling isn't like normal for what you're trying to do. And that would have helped a lot, but I didn't have that. And I didn't know at the time, like my mental health had deteriorated so much at the time that I couldn't do that for myself.
Right.
And everyone thinks I'm, fine all the time. And that's just not true. And I felt that way in college too, where people would be like, I would be checking in with other people. And sometimes I would just be like, but why does no one check in with Nicole? So yeah. Does it answer the question?
It does. Yeah. Just having people to talk to. So I am sorry. Okay, so yeah, for me, it's since I'm kind of going through this right now, so going back to what I was talking about earlier and not like feeling your feelings, I woke up and I had a tight muscle in my leg. I didn't think anything of it, and I just went and did a workout anyways. And that happened like 3 weeks ago. So that's
about 3 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's happened 2 weeks ago. So yeah. So I think like the thing for me is that it's like being self-aware and being aware of your body, and like that is like literally what I've been trying to do even on these like really short runs, is like thinking about my body and how does it actually feel right now, because I don't notice it because I've so long just ignored if something hurt or if it, like a long time after I actually got done like with Michigan State, I kind of didn't like value. I think I was like kind of like bummed about leaving the team. I think we all kind of went through this, but didn't really like care about myself in a way of like, okay, it doesn't matter if I get injured now, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to run through anything because I'm not actually like competing anymore. And so I definitely got out of that. But I guess my point is that I'm trying to make is that I still have a blind spot where when it comes to injuries, and just being able to like manage them. And I don't know as far as like the coaches and other people go. I'm like very self motivated and don't really need anybody like telling me what to do. I'm going to do what's on the sheet or whatever else we have our workout plan. So it would be really hard for somebody to tell me not to do things, which has been something that I've like learned that being injured right now is that like I am getting better at not feeling like not worth anything if I'm not like running. And obviously, luckily, because that should have happened already, but I am stressed about it because it's like running's a lot of how I manage my stress, and trying to find different ways is Nicole and I were talking about together, is just trying to find different ways to like manage stress that's not like running because we can't always run. So I should try to figure out a better way to manage it. And so that's what I've been like looking for. I mean, I also climb, so luckily I've been able to have an active outlet, but even still, I want to find a different way to manage that. And now I'm going off topic, but I think for what I would tell myself, I guess I would tell myself that, hey, in like 12 years or whatever long, the injury you had in your freshman year, you're going to have that like when you're 34. Because the injury I have right now is the exact same one I had when I was running through it in college. So like that's my weakest point. It went to the weakest point of my leg. That's why it hurts. So like I would tell myself that all the injuries that you have right now, they're going to be around years and years and years. So you should actually
it's gonna hurt all the
time. Well, I'm just saying we're gonna pay for what we do to our bodies. And like if you want to keep running forever, you have to like, and I'm telling myself this, don't act like I need to hear this too. Like you're gonna be paying for this forever. So you might as well like take care and treat yourself now because you want to be able to keep doing this like long term. I mean, I tell this to the younger people at the gym when they get injured. I say the same thing. I'm like, you need to take care of this because I twisted my ankle like years ago and I'm still having weird, whatever. I ran through an ankle twist that was really bad. Like all the things that I've done to my body, like you're going to feel it later on. It takes a lot longer for you to get to bounce back when you get older too. So, yeah, I think that's that. I mean, I might have heard that because I would want to keep running. So,
I mean, Katie, I feel like you probably could relate to this, but when people are like, your body, you like shouldn't do that to your body now because like you want to have your body later. And I would have just been like, I don't care if I blow out my knee later, I'm gonna run fast now. Like, and now I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. But I did not care then.
Yeah. I also didn't care then. And I really wish I would have because, I had a string of stress fractures and that kind of pain. I still to this day sometimes feel that ache in my bone. And that really bothers me. It's like a ghost just saying, you really hurt yourself. And although your bone density is normal for your age now, like there's still a deficit there, even though all things say there shouldn't be. There's still an ache sometimes, and that really bothers me. That's something like kind of heavy that I carry, like a reminder of that I once like didn't really respect my body. So yeah, I just like that's a hard sell to the young female runner that you have one body and you are actually going to want it to feel good at 35. That is a hard sell. And I don't know if I don't think my messaging is there yet because I would have said, I can do whatever I want at 35. I won't even run at 35. But I do want to run at 36. Yeah. So, yeah, that is like, that's part of what I'm always saying too is like long-term health equals long-term performance. And just so much of the toxicity in running culture promotes short-term performance over long-term health. And that is just something that is really hard to come back from physically and mentally after a while. If you do that long enough, if you prioritize short-term performance long enough, you're going to get good short-term performance and really poor long-term health and performance outcomes. So, yeah, it is just a hard sell. And I think repetition, to saying it to the young female runner over and over, like you need, like you're going to want to respect your body always. You're going to want to look back with pride at what you did and how and what you did and to yourself and to others. So yeah, I just agree. It's such a hard sell, but
well, and when we were in college too, when we were like in that mindset, it's like we didn't have women who were having babies in the sport and then coming back and performing better than they ever have. or there were a few examples, but not like there are now. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was like, oh, you're going to be done running at this point and that's it. And like your career's done when you're 25, 26. Like, and now we're like, oh, people can run well, like still very well, like into their 30s. Like that just wasn't something that we could use as perspective either. Like the idea that you could be durable and continue to improve into your 30s was not like an accessible idea to us. So if that's not accessible, why would we care what we're doing when we're 21? We just want to run fast now. Like
Exactly. That's a great word, durable. Like if we, I think, words really matter and our messaging matters. And if we start promoting things like durability over like, you know, a good one-off fast performance, I think those are the things that are really going to stick around and be more permanent for future generations. Putting a value on durability and resiliency of your tissues and of your mental health. Um, those are the things, like if we can start to just rearrange the values in the sport and not get rid of wanting to perform well at a one-off meet, but just putting it lower on the list and not prioritizing it above our overall um, tissue health, mental health. um, that's when I think we're going to start to make a change in the sport. Is just how do we, the language we use, and I don't think we're ever going to get rid of some of the things that can be toxic about the sport of running, because some of them play into what makes people successful with running too, like with perfectionism. Like that can make people successful, and it's not always a bad thing, but it is usually a bad thing. So if we can kind of like just prioritize some things, that some values in the sport, that prioritize and honor our bodies and our minds and our long-term health, that's when I think we're going to start to see a culture shift.
and I think a lot of that comes from like men being in charge. And I know that's an easy thing to say, but it does apply to everything. But like somewhat of the trajectory of the male body is to peak in the early 20s. And so when we're framing that for women, when that actually is in our peak, then, as we finally have some like, I think Emily Langenberg might have brought this idea up. I'm not for sure. But like we now are having like our first big generations of like female distance runners coming to fruition as resources as us for us. Like we don't know, there's rarely any women like back in the 18 or back in like 1905 when women were running, here's the things we learned. Like this is our first big generation of this. And so this is the first generation of women who are running into their 30s, who are having kids and then continuing to run fast. And just see, like, before we were just told you peak when you're like in your early 20s, and we just left it at that. Like, or it was like weird if you had kids, you should just assume your career is over. Like, so really actually getting to see what women do, like, and how long we can maintain longevity. Like, just having that perspective, I think would help. Helps. It's got to help at least a little bit now. Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't, like, where guys have so many role models that they can choose from in the running world. We're like, oh, now we have people to choose from, but we didn't really have that many. We have like Dina.
Yeah. Longevity. That's another great word. What if like we took, like, how the Olympics is faster, higher, stronger, which is awesome. But like in, female distance running culture, if we could prioritize durability, resiliency, and longevity, like, and we really bought into that as a culture, like, I think we would start seeing some of the fastest times we've ever seen from female runners.
There were some statistics for a while that were like, oh, well, if you haven't run in a world or Olympic A standard by the time you're 25, the chances of you running one after that are not good. And like, people are still organizing shoe contracts with that in mind. And they're mostly men. But like, if someone had been like, oh, Des Linden is going to win the Boston Marathon in her mid 30s, and she's going to have all of these very impressive finishes. She's going to be a 2-time Olympian. And she's still going to have goals, the goal of winning a marathon major. And her and Shalane are going to do it in their 30s. Like, we didn't have that perspective. We were like, everything's done when you're like 24. Like, that's just so much different than what we saw when we were younger. Like,
Yeah.
And the media is there for us to see it. Like, we had die stat if you wanted to try really hard. But yeah,
didn't Des just set she just set the ultra marathon.
Yeah. Yeah, she just won a real record. Like, that's
amazing. Great. And that's like
in her 30s.
An ultra marathon is the definition of durability and resiliency. So, yeah.
Well, and that starts to be like ultras. It starts to be where like women start surpassing men.
Right.
Like, we could just teach people that when they're younger. Or even that you can run past college if you don't have money. That's what like Ayn was saying, like she really got more serious about running when she joined Below Underground. That was like a year and a half ago. Wow. Like yeah. It's just not something that we considered. Or I didn't.
Yeah, I think this is like great conversation because like a lot of this is like stuff that I know, and it's still things that I have to tell myself, and it's just not a habit yet. And I think you're right, like the durability aspect of things, like there's part of this, like part of being like in Washington, like places like this is like really shows you the value of going and being able to like push yourself to a new place, like taking your body to the top of a mountain or whatever else. Like the value in that and being able to do that long term is like that's like reframing my goals, so like I still want to like compete in something. I still want to run fast, but I also want to continue to be able to have those experiences. And I think that like if we could somehow message that, like within that somehow. And I think Katie, you're like so spot on. Like if we can just change the values, like instead of it being like this short-term thing, like I just wish somebody would have said that to me. I wish somebody said like, it's not all over, you're done running in college, but it's not done. Like you can do whatever you want to do. Like it was just like so much of my identity and everything else was wrapped up in that. And like my ego, like I had to work on that. It's something I'm still working on.
Aren't we all?
What'd you say?
Aren't we all?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think like for me it's just something that I wish somebody would have said. And I can't really get in that headspace of where I was to like figure out what I was thinking at that time. And I'm glad I'm not there anymore, but like I just I can't think of where I was. But